Hey world, welcome to my channel. My name is Sister Oz, and I am a student of life and social psychology. I'm very passionate about wellness, especially emotional, physical, and spiritual wellness. In this channel, we analyze social contrasts as well as norms. We start a conversation around issues that we blindly accept in our community, and we try to find out how they're helpful, and if they're not helpful, figure out ways in which we could try to forward a conversation of cultural progression or evolution around those issues. Today we're talking about Umjolo, which is a very interesting conversation that the youth are having amongst themselves, and we as a couple that has been together for 7 years are going to impart our own wisdom and what we think could be the problem and how maybe we could try to tackle certain issues in order to deal with this issue. So yeah.
Unjani umjolo?
Abantu bayakhala ngikhali sikhala sibaningi nangumngani wami ngabe uyakhala sikhala sibaningi now
I can't help but cry over that chick.
Akasinext
She doesn't know how much she means to me, and that's what's having me the most.
Yeah.
Bro, the thing is, she doesn't know how.
Ungakhali boy. Ungakhali boy. Lwandle khona babakha kafuni yabona babakha kafuni.
To be honest, Petogo, decision it's not gonna be easy. Mara, bashimane kitswile mo bona Petogo. Like 8 kitswile mo bashimane. Akitsajola. Bashimane ba. Yo.
Helang, ba mo herile. Uyanyisa Umjolo. Batho bona Umjolo. Bona ditiro tsa Umjolo. Boago, are you okay? Boago. Boago eh. O shapo ne itai. O shapo.
All right. Hey everyone, thank you for watching our video. Today we're talking to a very contentious issue amongst the South African youth, I'd like to think. And it is what we just watched. Dating will fuck you up, will dribble you, will show you flames. We like to call it Umjolo uyanyisa, you know.
So it's Umjolo, the pandemic.
Yeah.
By the way, I go by the name of community that
Umjolo is dating and it will fuck you up. That is the notion, and that's what we like to talk to today. So my guest is my partner in crime, Tebo, aka Munity, aka Dad, aka
A plus, aka Val, aka
yeah. So yeah.
aka.
So tell me, what are your thoughts on what we just saw?
So recently we just played a video. Well, I think it's 2 videos that we just watched. It's called Umjolo, the pandemic, but we're gonna focus on just the pandemic called Umjolo. So in South Africa, it's busy fucking up the people. Uyanyisa. And I feel like for me, it's something that we have, I don't know, we have created by planting a seed that, the dating world, or the dating world, it's not so easy, hence eventually the end result is the easiness of cheating because of the pandemic. It's brought about the cheating within relationships, but we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on the fact that people planted a seed that created this pandemic called Umjolo, the missing part. So that's my thoughts. You can add what you add on your side, but hey, for me, it feels like people created this, like the bachelor system that has been, perpetuated in South Africa, because now we are based in South Africa, not geographically. And
let me tell you what my thoughts are. I think that it's an issue that is affecting the generation that comes after us, which is 90s and 2000s, right? And I feel it's mainly based on the uprising or the awakening up of the female female libido and the acceptance of the awakening up of that female libido. And in that being so, women are more openly expressive of their sexual desire, and what they actually need, from a man. Now, the issue in this instance is that it's only becoming apparent amongst the youth that women can actually do this, when it, like previously, women would do it, would cheat, and would not consider relationships that important. I don't think they would. I don't think they would not consider relationships as primary. But in this generation, or the generation that comes after us, it does not need marriage to validate them. When the previous generation, they were the females were uh, were not forced, were groomed, yes, for lack of a better word, they were groomed towards being married, right? And their value and their importance, or their dignity, lied in their ability to keep and hold a relationship or a marriage. So this generation is not doing that, and instead it's the women who are wanting to explore their options, and it's turning out into what we just watched. It's not a pretty sight to see, but it is what it is. And
yes, but now looking at it from not just this angle, but just in reality in general, Njolo, the missing part, it's two-sided, now according to me. It's not just, yes, the women are fighting back, so to speak. Not fighting, it was not a battle as such, but the women are waking up to their own sexuality and what they prefer and what they do not prefer. Hence, now they're also exploring the side relationships while they're in a relationship, because of they were like, hey, if you like something, go for it, like what men usually do, But I think also it's, according to me, because now even now the women are also professing that value. Mjolo, it's missing them, like it's fucking them up. So for me, it feels like it's a seed that was planted amongst, like you said, the generation that comes after us. Even us, we have trinkles of that status that Mjolo was missing, because we are more adaptable to their status of Mjolo missing the youth, and also missing how many of our age group find themselves single. How many of them, most of them, are pushing this single mindset and this thing of, for me, at this age, like in between losing your youth years, which is 35, going to 40, 50, 60, you should be settled, or you should have someone who you call a potential life partner that you've been with for a number of years. So for me, they still fall under the pandemic of Umjolo because they are the generation that had a seed planted based on the bachelorness of everything that was, introduced. Bachelor flats on TV, you find eligible bachelors, like all these things that were planned. Before that, before knowing this term called a bachelor, there was no, aspirations for bachelorship.
I think more than like that, and I think the point that I was driving previously is the fact that our generation and the generation that comes before us, which is the 70s, 60s, we were the 80s generation. I think it's generation Z. I think they we're the ones who were the last people to experience what I would like to call uh, I don't know un uninterrupted or uncorrupted um, cultural norms. I'd like to think, or societal norms. The generation that came, we also to a certain extent, the ones who were towards the late 80s, early 90s, we were the ones who were introduced to Western culture. And now Western culture has a different dynamic altogether when it comes to the conversation of dating, which is something that we're not accustomed to as South Africans, or let me say African people. There's a culture of dating that exists that we see in TV that we, for instance, decide that are only getting accustomed to. And I feel like the generation that is actually saying Umjolo uyanyisa is based on they are adapting, or they're making use of that model of dating as opposed to our model of dating. Our model of dating was, begezela, you work, but make your relationship work, try to make it work until it doesn't work, So this generation is easily, you can let go of that situation and climb into another one, like dating. You can have fun dating, but we did not get, maybe they didn't get the memo of what it actually entails, whether or not you should say from the get-go to the person that, like, when we watch TV, because that's the only way I have exposure to this culture of dating. When we watch TV, they go on dates,
and it's being captured in a bigger version. It's based on TV.
Yes. So they go on dates. There's the first date, there's a second date, and in those dates, there's things that are supposed to happen in a healthy context or in an unhealthy context. If you're going to make it long term, it can be 90 days, like the 90-day thing that Steve Harvey spoke about, or yeah, let me stick to that. Like, so there's the when first date you just getting to know each other. Second date maybe is the kiss. Third date is the whatever, and then maybe fifth date you try to get intimate or not. But those rules were never communicated clearly to the people who are engaging them in this community or in our society. So now you find people entering into dating relationships with people and actually using the "I love you" term that we are very loose in using, whereas the original people of this culture that we are adopting actually have a time, and by the time he or she is willing to say "I love you," that's the time that then they're making they're lessening their bachelorness or their bacheloretteness into being into a relationship, a long-term relationship with you specifically, who they've just professed their love for. In our culture, you can love anybody from the time you see them,
From the minute you just go and I go propose
you just
to
love
you.
them.
You like,
You just
I
love
loved
you.
you
Yeah,
from the
you
minute
see.
I saw you. Everything is all about love. It's not a matter of like. At least them, they still move with the word like, because you can like everything and still like the person more than anything. But love is different. But yeah.
So my point is that, like, our and I feel to a certain extent the way our generation moved is the most safest and the most mentally well, mentally not mentally frustrating, because you don't have to deal with a whole lot of things, and there's a level of endurance, there's a level of you know, taking ownership and being responsible in your relationships, you know, as opposed to just playing. Because I feel like there's a whole lot of playing in the guise of I'm trying to understand myself, or I'm trying to find myself. For a lot of people, they never do find themselves. They find themselves being bachelors for a longer time because of this. Because you'll never find, you'll try to you find somebody who can kiss you right, who can you know, intimately you connect in this chemistry, but when it comes to emotionally you clash. And then you'll find that there's somebody like that. You'll never find that perfect somebody unless you make a somebody out of different people, which is what I feel like is been happening. You know, there's no willingness to work and be a team and be partners and get to know a person and grow with a person. Immediately somebody notices a fault about somebody, they're willing to jump to the next thing as if it's easy to, you know, and then they term that. I feel like that's when the term Umjolo uyanyisa comes in play, because we're not teammates, and the gender war doesn't is not also helping. It just makes the
Yeah,
situation
that's true.
worse.
So also just to add on, I'm not disagreeing with anything that you say. I agree with that. Yet happy you have to look at this other aspect that, you know, for um for Umjolo to actually, you know, fuck the people up is based on the fact that people were now being serious, like like being serious in a relationship, starting to commit to the next person. That's what I mean when I say they started to being serious. Um, like you said, we South Africans, especially South Africans, I'm not sure about other nations, or other, you know, tribal groups within Africa, how they proposed to their companions, you know. But us in South Africa, the first thing that you say is to tell the next person, "Oh, you love them," you know. And in us doing that, it somewhere somehow just involves this seriousness from the onset, you know, whereby there's no room to actually experience each other, your faults, you know, your fault, your flaws, you know, your you know, your pros, your, like, what are the good things that you can provide for that person, how mature are you in a relationship. So there is no space to actually play around in a relationship, especially when you saying no, no, this is my person. I don't know, maybe it's the sense of ownership. Say, this is my person that actually messes up and fucks up everything from the beginning. Because of, if you create room to play around in order to know each other and experience each other in your best and in your greatness, in order to make that greater choice, that, no, I'm gonna stick with this person. At least I know their flaws and their, you know, goodness. You know. Or I'm not gonna stick with them because their flaws is too much for me. You know. It's just that we tend to be more serious, more committed on the first instance that you just say yes, I love you too, because you always say that, you know, you love me, even though when you're not sure that you love me too, or it's even love, but you just want to experience this person. The first thing you're gonna say is that I love you too, and probably that's the first mistake that we make. As because this pandemic of Umjolo, it's mainly fixed on South Africans, so maybe that's why even as South Africans, Umjolo or so, like, it's fucking us up in this
I
manner.
don't think it's only us. I think it's because we are just familiarizing ourselves too much with the South African context of this, because we've been watching the American context as well. Them Jola is just killing them sideways, left, right, and center.
It
They
has
even
been.
they're even jumping to the other side,
It
you know,
has
to
been.
try to deal. So in our context, I feel it's just if we could if the youth, because I don't have a problem with Charlotte, if the youth could actually be genuine about which model of dating are they using, and maybe it's a new way of looking at it, but there's different models of this. You know, there's the our, you know, I see a lady the guy sees a lady walking down the street, and then, maybe we'll accompany them back home, and then we'll see that's where the lady stays. And then tomorrow when you're going to the shops, you see the guy standing there waiting for you, and then he accompanies you to the shops. And this was before the phone. This was before the phone. That's why maybe there's another,
The street light version.
it's I think the phone also has another, or technology also has another
Impact, yeah.
yes, on this whole thing. So before the phone, the guy will take an effort and will go and wait for you in the corner, and you'll see him lurking there, and then he will come and will talk to you, and the talk is gonna be, "Hi, my name is so and oh no, maybe we met yesterday." So continuing from yesterday, the conclusion is, "I love you. Are you gonna love me back, or are you gonna love me back?" So us as the ladies, what we would say is, "Okay, I'll go think about it." So
But yet, that's the thing. We used to be so poetic about it. Right now, like you said, like technology. For me, it's true. Technology just fucked up a whole lot because of it's easy for people who are living, like far apart. Like you are in KZN. I mean, PE, and we get to connect, and then on that fateful day we get to meet, and something just happens, and then boom, it's Umjolo, and then we forget how we met. We forget how we met. We met on the internet. How it was so easy for the two of them to connect. How can that not happen with the next person? So that's what I mean. And remember, it all goes according to maturity, level of maturity around those two people. If they're mature enough, they will stick together. If they're not mature enough, after the flames, say, there's down. It's another flight, Gauteng, Northwest, so everybody knows, so it was, for me, back then, before technology, there used to be this thing called jitters. Lekwababa. We used to call it lekwababa, but it's jitters in English, meaning this thing of hesitating to approach the next person. Technology killed that because it used to also create some sense of respect when I approached you, because there is this thing of, I don't know, being far away from you that actually is meaningful when I'm close to you. That creates some sense of meaning when I'm close to you. And like having easy access, being able to even see you naked even before we sleep together. I have your news, I have all these things.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I mean, like I think this conversation, it makes sense as a way of a solution to this uyanyisa thing, where it allows we want people to start having that conversation that allows them to see why and what could be contributing towards this thing of this dating, showing people flames, when it really doesn't need to. You touched on something that was very poignant, which is the maturity, and we have to also check, like in the video that we just watched, I think it's a few people who are in their 30s, and I think life starts to make sense for a lot of people once you're in your late 20s to your early 30s. That's when you start to understand yourself much better. So that's also another point that actually is very relevant, but the basis of what we just mentioned is on this dating model, where's the African dating no, I don't even want to call it an African dating model. Maybe the old school dating model in South Africa versus the new school westernized, globalized model of dating, whereby we things are so instant, we instant everything, instant everything, like you said, instant nudes, instant everything. When we did not have the pleasure of that, I would listen to Celine Dion and fantasize about a guy that, maybe when I'm going to the shops, I'll see him maybe playing soccer or whatever, when there was a lot of personal contact, physical contact that made situations like that made you treasure, every moment, and it made you you couldn't wait to be with that person, and when they visit you in the afternoon and you have a conversation, it's not going to continue in WhatsApp. It's going to be something that's going to be
Continue
for the next
when
time
we
you
meet.
meet, which would I feel
Create
like.
anticipation and all that.
So everything for this generation is now.
It's instant.
It's so now, and if you don't do that, they can easily move to the next. That's why it's so easy to discard and think you can move to next, because you have access to a large pool of potential somebodies, in your life. So
Yeah, and Vele, that's how for them they say it's it expands the variety of the dating pool. For me, I don't feel like it does. I think it just creates this digital world that creates reality not to be so real anymore. Because of reality to them becomes boring without that interaction. That, you know what, we need to have that mind sex over the net first before we can get there. Before that, there was no mind sex of that sort. It's like when you have that opportunity to be in that room, you use it. There's no mind sex. The mind sex is you alone, like you say, when you go to the shops. You would meet this guy when you get home, play Celine Dion about Tony Braxton, and imagine what could be happening. You would play with Silk. You know, remember that? That's a meeting, all those things. Get sweat, But eventually, for me, honestly speaking, technology is great, but it created this, it diversified feelings. Feelings were used to be once, it used to be subjective. Now it's objective because of technology. Because there's a whole lot of images going around. There's a whole lot of, I don't know. There is no distance between people. Maybe the distance was healthy, you know. But when I know now it's just instant messaging, instant everything. Once you get home, you'll be like, if that guy doesn't say good night, he's wrong. Who is he with? Certain thoughts come into mind. But back then, immediately as you depart under that street light, because we used to stay under the street light, hold you by the waist, it's nice, get intimate. Even the sexuality was limited, was not as, I don't know, explicit as it is now. Because right now, those who are under the street light, they will find now a dark place so that they can do the glove, it's fucking, do the fucking. But back then, all those thoughts were not there actually. It was only, I don't know, those who were too exposed to, I don't know, new things, too exposed to American culture. For me, again, I blame American culture. I'm sorry to be biased, but the whole world is controlled by American culture more than it's controlled by European culture. When it comes to Europe, the only thing that conquers when it comes to Europe is certain laws and bylaws and certain measurements that we use that is taken from Europe. kgs, we don't use ounces, like small things. But when it comes to socio psychological, I don't know, programming, we get it from United States. That is why even now we have so many wretched people that you find on platforms like the TikTok, men or women, like now the Umjolo situation, people who are like the videos, people are standing under the rain with the t-shirt, sitting on a chair, drinking coffee, crying. What does it take for one individual to get to that point?
But then we have different thresholds for disappointment and hurt, and people act out in different weird ways. So maybe what we're doing, what is happening now, is that we are being exposed to a whole lot of content as to how other people live their lives, whereas we would not maybe depend on only TV before to see and rumors to see how other people, what other people's lives look like, you know. So right now we have we have large pools of seeing Instagram, WhatsApp statuses, Facebook, Twitter, of what people actually do to deal with certain things, you know. And even sometimes people parrot behaviors, you know, when they saw somebody crying in the rain and they thought that it was cute and they want to go and do it. You know, there's also those factors of being a human being, because human beings mimic, you know, the things that they see. So when, even if things were not going to be naturally your reaction, you will do that because you've seen such and such a person do this and this, or heard such and such a person do this.
So it takes us back to that seed that is planted.
Yeah, I
In
think
whichever way, whichever seed it may be, the seed is planted.
so. Okay, so what would you say would be the solution to the Umjolo's question?
For me, I'd say people should take the dating game and as a dating pool. Meaning a pool is it's where you get in and out into relation like situations, and you feel comfortable in one situation, which you would call a relationship eventually that you'll be committed in. Thing is, we have to create a solution. For me is that people shouldn't be committed as like at first go. People should create room for, I don't know, disappointment and also growth. I'm not saying disappointment at the next person, but know that the person has flaws, as they also have their own flaws. They just don't know which flaws it may be. So when it appears or surfaces, they shouldn't take it. I don't know. They shouldn't take it like they're taking it now, crying, breaking down.
And I think it's yes. Um, and I think another thing is that when one person breaks your heart, dust yourself. Yes, cry. Don't live in that environment, and realize that the world is your oyster and you have a lot of people on your phone. You know, I'm sorry. A lot of
It takes
people.
us back to the technology again. That is
Yes,
missing on
as
John.
opposed to the nice thing that I've always loved about white people and how white people do this love thing is that if they divorce today, even if it's their fourth marriage, they're gonna have another marriage. They never they never give up and say, because I've been divorced 2 times, I'll never find another person. You will hear of people who are in their fifth divorces, kind of thing, you know, where in our culture it's as if you are married or you are supposed to be with one person, and if the 9-year relationship or the 10-year relationship breaks down, it's over for you, and then life is gone, you know, when you can just dust yourself up and realize, okay, this is what I've learned from this relationship, and this is what I've learned about myself, and try to find a lesson in that, and then move forward and find another person, you know, not find another person to, you know, as a rebound, but another person to try and forward and have companionship, because at the end of the day I believe a relationship is like it's like a best friend, full-time best friend that's your best friend forever and ever, you know, kind of thing, you know, and we can become partners, we become everything in life to help each other's lives go forward. And there could be a lot of people for that. I don't think there's one soulmate thing. This whole soulmate thing, I think, is the one that fucks everything up. When you think that after somebody breaks your heart, now you're now going to be single forever, you know. And
What that
especially given that these ones are very young, I don't understand why they want to. But hey, it is what it is. So, any closing words?
Yeah, in closing words is that the solution is that hey, people learn to like know each other first before you know, be committed in a relationship. I'm not saying go around cheating on each other, but Because now, if you go around cheating on each other, that means you're gonna be learning the next person that you'll be cheating with instead of learning that person. So try and learn each other, have fun in the relationship. Like in order for you to create room for knowing flaws, pros, cons of that person. Do not commit yourself at first hand. Stop using this thing of when you go and we call it shela when you go cutting and the next person. In South Africa, we call it shela. So when you go and share the next person, don't go there and say I love you. Use appropriate words. I'd like to get to know you better. I like you based on this and that. Like that will also teach us communication because it's what we like in relationship. That's why Umjolo and Yisa, most people, communication they like.
Okay, thank you. My closing words are: remember that you need to be mature for certain things. So don't take things too seriously. Allow yourself to have fun while you're getting to know people, while you're getting to know yourself. Especially if you're under the age of 29, you have all the time to learn and to have fun and to study yourself emotionally, physically, sexually, and all these other things. And your maturity will allow you to be vocal about what you expect in a relationship, what your expectations are when you meet up with somebody, so that when you're a lady and you meet up with a guy, you tell them where you are in your life and whether you are still interested in playing or you just want to be serious with somebody. And then the guy will let you know as well, hopefully, if the guy is also mature, will let you know that no, I'm not ready for this. So I feel like if we were to be open about what our expectations were and manage each other's expectations, life will be so much more easier. You know that you're just dating for fucking, or you're just dating for having whatever, because we do things for different reasons, so no, I don't think that uyanyisa. I think that we choose to affirm that, and then we actually experience a whole lot of bullshit, a whole lot of crap. So thank you for watching our video. Please let us know what you think in the comment section. See you next time. Bye.